up, PTB Nation? Welcome to another episode of Parking the Bus. I'm the Mr. Mike Agostino, and I'm here with you again, getting ready for tonight's first leg of the Liga MX Finals, La Gran Final. But before we get there, we're going to catch up on everything that has gone down in the Brasileirao this past weekend. Okay, I know I owed you this episode a little earlier in the week, but here it is, a little late, but better late than never, and it can lead you right into tonight's first leg, like I said, of the Liga MX Finals, which kicks off late. Let me tell you, it's not easy to be a Liga MX fan here on the East Coast. It kicks off tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I got my DVR rolling. I can't watch that live. I got to be awake at 2 in the morning. But the DVR will be rolling, and I'll be watching it tomorrow with a lot of interest, obviously. But again, first, we're going to talk about the Brasileirao 2022, and there you see the ticker there at the bottom. You can see my Twitter handle there on your screen if you're new to the show. I'm the Mr. Mike Agostino. There's my handle at Mike Agostino. That's at MikeAgostinho. Follow the show on Twitter as well at PTB_media. Many of you are watching right there on the Twitter. But if you're not, and even if you are watching on the Twitter, please go to YouTube, bring up the PTB Media Network's YouTube page, search for it. Just search for Parking the Bus episode 85. That's what we have going on right now. Search for it there and subscribe to the show. Subscribe to the channel, excuse me. And give me that support that way. I really, really appreciate subscriptions. I have not been big on YouTube subscriptions, but I have to start to get some in that realm. Again, thank you to everyone that watches on Twitter, but I do need YouTube subscriptions. So please go to YouTube, subscribe to the PTB Media Network, and also check out our homepage as always, www.parkingthebusmedia.com. All right, I do everything there myself. I will, by the time you see this, I will have the Brasileiro's Team of the Week from round 7 posted there. All right, so we're going to start there. Brasileirao, round 7 this past weekend, and the storylines are more or less the same as the week before. We got Corinthians running, at top of the table still. They did drop some points, but that is normal in this league. Teams drop points in this league. It's a very difficult and demanding league. Travel is much more difficult than in any league in Europe, obviously, because you look at the size of Brazil. It is a lot bigger than any country in Europe. Every away match can be a long flight. It is a lot harder to accumulate points than it is in a lot of leagues for that reason. So we'll go back to Saturday here. I think was the start of the round. And, teams also are fighting on multiple fronts right now. They're fighting in the Copa Libertadores, in the Copa Sudamericana as well. And it's leaving teams, a little bit spread a little thin, I think. Flamengo comes to mind. Fortaleza comes to mind. As you're going to see, they're struggling a bit in the Brasileirao, but doing well in CONMEBOL play. So I'm going to pull that up right now, and we will get right into this round. Brasileirao Serie A. All right, this was round number 7, so it began on Saturday, May the 21st. All right, so Atlético Goianiense 2-0 winners over Curitiba. Flamengo finally get a victory. I'm going to talk about this game for a little bit here. Flamengo finally get a victory after a while. I watched this, like I watch all of these on Paramount Plus on my streaming device. And it, if you want to follow the Brasileirao in English, you got to get Paramount Plus. This is not an ad for Paramount Plus. I'm just saying that's where the football's at. And, they cover the game in English. And one of the co-commentators was saying that Paulo Sousa's job was on the line in this match, he believed. And I talked about the ongoing telenovela going on at Flamengo between, the unnecessary pressure put on Paulo Sousa by one of his colleagues in the profession, the former Flamengo manager, who still owns the hearts of many Flamenguistas. I'm talking, of course, about Jorge Jesus, JJ. He made comments in the weeks past about his availability, and again, getting Flamengo fans really thinking about him and putting unnecessary pressure on the manager they do have, on Paulo Sousa. And this co-commentator on CBS, he was a Brazilian. He spoke with a Brazilian accent. Spoke perfect English. That's not but you could tell he was Brazilian, and you could tell by the way he pronounced the players' names and the names of the clubs, and even by the way he pronounced his English, you could tell that he was a Brazilian, and he's knowledgeable, and he's on the inside. And he said he was personally rooting for Paulo Sousa, as am I. He did say that, if they somehow lost this match to Goiás, that he didn't see how Paulo Sousa was going to continue in charge of this team. And I talked about they were very good in the Copa Libertadores. And this weekend, I will catch you up to date on Copa Libertadores. We'll have a show on that. But in the league, Flamengo have struggled. They've dropped points everywhere. This team is not as young as it once was. Okay, this team is aging. This team is losing players and not replacing them with the same level. Then this team is getting older. It just is a fact. And again, I talk about all the time how the Brazilian league is a grind. It is very difficult. A lot of matches in a short time frame. Factor in Libertadores, factor in Copa Sudamericana, factor in Copa do Brasil. It is just absolute chaos in the Brazilian calendar. They play 70. It's not uncommon to play 70 plus matches in a calendar year. Let's look at the lineups for this one. Okay. We'll start with Goiás. They playing a 5-4-1 for their manager, Jair Ventura. Tadeu is the goalkeeper. The five across the back, right to left, Diego Silva, Sigolini, Caetano, and Danilo across the back. The four in midfield, the two in the middle is Elvas and Vinicius, with Belmonte to his left and Apodi to his right. Behind the lone striker, Raul. For Flamengo, they've changed the way they play from match to match. There's sometimes subtle changes, but Paulo Sousa goes with a 4-4-2 in this one. Nogueira is in goal, okay? And let's take a look at Hugo Nogueira real quick. 23-year-old goalkeeper. He's Brazilian by birth, and he's been at the club for some time now. 7 matches in this. He's played all 7 matches this season in this Brasileirao. He's played the Copa Libertadores matches, okay? Diego Alves is injured, so Hugo Nogueira is right now still the man for Flamengo in goal. The 4 across the back, the right back is Mateuzinho, okay? The center back pairing, Rodrigo Caio and Pablo, with Lucas playing as the left back. Now, there's some players missing, obviously, there. You're used to seeing a Felipe Luis. You're used to seeing a David Luiz, okay? You're used to seeing a Mauricio Isla in the back line for Flamengo. But we look at Flamengo's injured list, and there's quite a few names on it. So here's the injured players. You've got Adebar Santos injured with a thigh injury. Diego Alves with a groin injury, should be back by the end of the month. You've got Fabricio Bruno. He's got a foot injury until mid-July. Felipe Luis is a calf injury. You've got Gustavo Henrique. He is also available in this match. I think some of this is players being rotated and being rested. It's not an easy thing to juggle. And, for a European manager, that first year in Brazil can be absolutely just overwhelming with the amount of matches. And when you have the kind of pressure Paulo Sousa has on top of him, because he did not win the Carioca, okay, because he lost that to Fluminense, right off the bat, he's under a lot of pressure. When you come out through 6 matches and have 5 points, the way Flamengo do, again, even more pressure. And he's trying to manage minutes. He's trying to manage the workload on each player. Not an easy job by any means. The rest of the Flamengo 11 in midfield, the double pivot in the midfield is William Arão, very lights out holding midfielder, old school holding midfielder. I love William Arão. I love his game. He's partnered up with the Uruguayan Georgian Dahascaeta, a very much box to box, just fighter and workhorse that can move the ball in transition, that can carry it into transition, that can pass into transition, whatever the game calls for. Georgian Dahascaeta can do all that. To his right, Everton Ribeiro, another standout, consistent, uh, another consistent tool in the arsenal for Flamengo. And on the left, again, my guy, Bruno Henrique. We've seen him play everywhere. They've moved him around. Uh, just a phenomenal player in the peak of his career right now, spending the peak of his peak years in the Brasileirao, spending them at Flamengo near the top of the league. He was instrumental in their Copa Libertadores triumph a couple seasons ago. He was instrumental in getting them to the final last year, instrumental in their back-to-back Brasileirao titles in 19 and 20. Yeah, 19 and 20. 20 and 21, excuse me, in 20 and 21. Just absolutely a important piece of this Flamengo team. And then in the attack, of course, you have Gabriel Barbosa. We all know who he is. And the guy I talked about a lot in the last week when we talked Brasileirão, I talked about Pedro. This guy is so consistent. He just gives you what he has every time. I don't know how many times they've had to call on him, whether it's to start or it's off the bench. They need something from him. He goes onto the pitch. He gets the job done. I mean, he scores goals when they need it. He steps up when others can't play. He fills in for Gabigol when necessary. He fills in for Bruno Henrique when necessary. I mean, last week we saw him play in we saw him play in the double pivot with William Arão. So I mean, this guy does it all. And again, another guy that I think is just so underrated and underappreciated. And Pedro is the guy who gets the goal for you in the 17th minute. I thought Flamengo were going to roll them after that. They lost a little bit of steam. Again, fatigue does play in. It's early in the season, but it's a lot of matches in very short time. A lot of travel. I talk about that. In this one, they were in the Maracanã, in the comfort of the Maracanã, but again, they travel in Libertadores. They travel in Copa do Brasil. Sometimes Flamengo have to play home matches. They played the Fla-Flu Clásico, the derby, in Brasilia, not in the Maracanã. So, because they were replacing the pitch at the Maracanã. So, again, a lot of travel. It all wears on the players. And it's going to be something Paulo Sousa is going to have to manage this season. But that is right now where Flamengo stand. 3 crucial points for them here to alleviate a little bit of the pressure and move up the table just a little bit. Santos hosting Ceará. This one gets you 0-0. Santos, of course, trying to get themselves back in the title picture where they were not that long ago, 2 seasons ago. They come into this match with Ceará. Ceará is one of those teams you cannot overlook. Santos may have done that. Their manager, Fabian Bustos, the Uruguayan, he's got his team out there. His 11, Paulo in goal, Madison, Maicon, Gabriel, and Pires across the back. His double pivot, Fernandes and Vinicius, with 3 attacking midfielders in front of them. Julio down the left, Angulu in the center, and Batistão is the right-sided midfielder behind the striker, Leonardo. But, again, unable to get the 3 points, unable to register a goal against this traveling Ceará side. Juventude hosting Palmeiras. Abel Ferreira's side break out of the woodwork in this one. They've also had their struggles this season. Very good in Copa Libertadores as usual. Usually at a cost to their Brasileirão performance and to their consistency. Let's look at this team that Abel Ferreira put out there. against Juventud. On the road, no less. Always tough to play on the road. Some of these pitches are not the best, especially these teams near the bottom of the table. These smaller clubs have pitches that are not as they're not the Maracanã, they're not the Neoquímica, they're not the Mineirão, they're not the Arena. The of course Palmeiras themselves play on a plastic artificial, pitch, just like Atlético Paranaense. But again, tough thing to do, tough place to go play, but Palmeiras get the job done, and Abel plays with the 4-4-3 in this one. Here's his 11. Weverton's the goalkeeper, always reliable, always sure-handed. Rocha's his right back. That is Marcus Rocha, of course. His center backs, Kusevich and Cerqueira, are the two in the back with Jorge down the left. His three in midfield, anchored by Danilo in the center of the park. Gustavo Scarpa to his right, Zé Rafael to his left. Good midfield, can control the game with these three players. They move the ball very well. They vocal players also that can direct the traffic in front of them. And then the attacking three, a couple of new faces here. You got Dudu on the right, Navarro, Rafael Navarro, 22-year-old Brazilian in the center forward position, and Rony, the star, to his left. Okay, here are the guys on the bench for Abel Ferreira. He's got Breno Lopes, forever in the history of this club, the guy who scored the goal to bring the Libertadores title to them over Santos. He scored in extra time for Palmeiras. Breno Lopes, that name will never be forgotten by fans of the Verdão. Okay, Palmeiras very, very much love that player. Their supporters do. Gabriel Menino, a guy I've watched and liked a lot, a guy I'm waiting to just blow up on the scene. He's on the bench, and he ends up with a goal in this one. Wesley's been an important part of this team for the past couple of seasons. Back-to-back Libertadores champions, remember. Wesley's been part of that. Atuesta is a midfielder who's on the bench. Eduardo Atuesta, a Colombian, 24 years old. He's also got Naves, Vinicius, Lomba, Freitas, Vanderlan, Garcia, Fabinho, and Jonathan, all on the bench. Here's a couple. There's quite a few injuries, though, for Abel Ferreira to deal with. He's got Gabriel Veron injured with a thigh injury. Jailson is injured with the cruciate ligament. He is done for the season, Jailson. He's a Brazilian player, 26 years old. He's got a market value of 2.1 million. And he's ruptured the cruciate ligament. He's out for the season. That's a tough injury. Piqueres has a muscle injury. He'll be back this month. Garcia, and which Garcia? Luan Garcia, of course. He is suffering with a thigh injury as well. He'll be out until later this month. And then you got Mike with a tendon injury out till next month. And you got Rafael Vega, who is out for a few weeks with a virus. I wonder if that virus is COVID. I don't know. It doesn't say. But he's out for a while. So, again, with all that, Abel Ferreira's side still comes in. They get a goal from Zé Rafael in the 9th, a goal from Rony in the 31st, and then Gabriel Menino, my guy on this team, a guy I'm waiting for to just blow up. He gets one in the 90th, +2. Palmeiras take all 3 points here. Moving on. América Mineiro at home to Botafogo. I watched this game, and actually, I was recording a show while watching this game Saturday, if you remember correctly. This was a tight match. Botafogo have started the season well under Luis Castro. Okay, again, I talked last time we talked Brasileirao a week ago. I talked about the American investor John Textor and the money he has put into this club, into this Botafogo project, in seeing them promoted from Serie B into Serie A and playing near the top of the table. And they were down in this one. They were down 1-0 to America. As I look at it, Aloisio would score in the 38th minute for America. But Botafogo would continue. They would not be deterred. They continued to press on. And in the 86th minute, Erison gets the equalizer, 4 minutes from full time, and gets a point for Luis Castro's side. And the promoted side, Botafogo, keep contact with the front of the table. Again, a lot of points dropped by top teams. This is not La Liga. This is not Real Madrid, Atletico, and Barcelona winning 10 weeks straight each and just leaving the rest of the field in their dust. No, no. This in the Brasileirao, teams drop points. It's a fact of the matter. The teams drop points. It's very, very competitive, very balanced league. And the bottom teams can very much go to the top teams and take points. That's part of the challenge in this league. So again, I think Botafogo would take this result home with, I think, with a certain amount of comfort. Their supporters in the stadium were cheering. Um, in the stadium, which is the Estádio Raimundo Sampaio in Belo Horizonte. The referee, of course, was Rafael Klaus in this one, and he was not going to be intimidated by anybody. But again, the Botafogo fans singing at the end of the match. I think they were happy with their trip to Minas Gerais, happy with their 1 point on the road. Also, talking about a point on the road, Internacional, Inter Porto Alegre, the Colorado travel to Cuiabá, and they also get a 1-1 result against Cuiabá. Valdivia scores in the 50th minute for Cuiabá, while Depena scores from the penalty spot in the 83rd minute. A point to each. Moving to Sunday's matches now. A big one, a top 5, if you will. A top 3 showdown between, and I lost it. A top 3 showdown between Corinthians and São Paulo. And let's take a look at this one, because this was one of the big matches of the week. And let's look at the lineups here, as we'll start with the visitors, São Paulo, and their manager, Rogério Ceni, plays in a 3-4-2-1 with Jandre as the goalkeeper. The 3 at the back, Diego, Arboleda, and Leo, the wingbacks, Vinicius and Reinaldo. The double pivot in midfield is Igor Gomes and Rodrigo Nestor, the Brazilian pair in the middle of the park. The attacking midfielders, you have Luciano Neves down the right, and you have Alisson down the left, and they're playing behind the striker, Jonathan Caleri, the Argentine, 28-year-old, and he is one of the key guys in this São Paulo team, of course. For Corinthians, and for their manager, Vitor Pereira, another Portuguese manager in this Brasileirao, well-traveled, well-accomplished manager. Quickly has Corinthians at the top of the table. That is something to be noted. Their longtime goalkeeper, Cássio, gets the start. 3-4-1-2 is his formation. Victor, Gil, and Raul across the back. Mentuan and Santos down the flanks as wingbacks, with the double pivot being Barberan and Queiroz behind Renato Augusto in the number 10 position. And in front of him, João and Willian. Remember Willian way back in the day at Chelsea? Remember him at Palmeiras? He is still going, the former Brazil international, Willian. And he put in a good performance in this one as well. And again, these are two teams near the top of the table. They know each other. This is a derby. This is a clásico of the state of São Paulo. Corinthians versus São Paulo. And this one was at the Neoquímica Arena. I believe that's still the name of the stadium. And the two teams just know each other well. They've just finished their state championship. The referee here was Wilton Pereira Sampaio, and then it comes down to just knowing each other, and it was action in key moments. São Paulo would get on the board first in the 45th +6, still in stoppage time of the first half. It would be Jonathan Caleri with the goal. just before halftime, the worst time for anyone who's ever coached this, and I used to tell my players this all the time, in the last 5 minutes of the half and until that final whistle, we do not concede anything. We hold tight. It is the worst time to concede because then you go into the locker room at halftime and the other team is flying high, they're confident, and you've just surrendered and you're down. Okay? You want to get to halftime at 0-0, recompose yourself, collect yourselves, refocus your energies, refocus your tactics, think about the changes you're going to make. Well, the changes you're going to make get manipulated when you go down a goal right before half. And now maybe that change you were going to make, you can no longer make. Maybe you have to hold on to it, or maybe you have to make a tactical switch to be more attacking and take more risks. These are the decisions that someone like Vitor Pereira would have to make in this situation. So they go into halftime, one down 1-0. And it was actually São Paulo who make the substitutions at the halftime. Eder replaces Luciano Neves, Patrick replaces Reinaldo, and Rafinha replaces Igor Vinicius. For Corinthians, they make just one change. Adson comes in for Gil. And this was the tactical change that you're talking about, because you bring in Adson, and he's gonna give you something a little different than Gilles. Gilles plays across the back, of course, and you have to go for it now. Corinthians do get, they do go forward. They make a substitution, another well-traveled player, well known to fans of Ukrainian football, former Ukraine international Junior Moraes comes off the bench, replaces Willian, and Lucas Piton replaces Fabio Santos, and Juliano replaces Maicon Barberan, and that puts Corinthians in a little more powerful position, taking more chances, though, no doubt about it. But in the 80th, they are rewarded for that as a substitute. Adson would score on assist from another substitute, Lucas Piton. So Vitor Pereira's substitutions make the difference here. Did he put the best 11 on the pitch? That's a different conversation, but he definitely got the changes right. 10 minutes from time, Corinthians will rescue a point. You want all 3 points at home, but against a rival, against a contender, just like you. It's early, yes, but these are the two of the teams in the top three. The share of the spoils, I think we'll see both teams maybe not happy, but it'll send both teams at least satisfied, at least knowing that they got something out of the match, and they'll focus on gaining points against other opponents. You look at the stats in this one a little bit, and possession belonged to the home side, to Corinthians, 55% to 45%. Corinthians had 13 shots. São Paulo had 14 shots. Big chances. São Paulo had 4 big chances, only converted 1. That's the stat I think they're going to look at, and they're going to say, we let some points get away in this one. 3 big chances missed by São Paulo. You look at just fouls, 11 to 12. It's very close. We look at one of my favorite statistics is duels won. And they were tied. It was 50-50 in duels. 58 duels each won. That's tough. Ground duels, a slight advantage to Corinthians. Aerial duels, a slight advantage to São Paulo. All right. 2 yellow cards for Corinthians, 3 for São Paulo. All in all, a match that was well controlled by the referee, well managed, if you will. And each team takes a point. Fortaleza continued their struggle. They're bottom of the table, despite doing, reasonably well in the Libertadores. They continue to struggle in the Brasileirao, and they would lose at home to Fluminense on a goal from Luis Henrique in the 9th minute, and that would take the Tricolor to the finish line with a 1-0 victory. And Fluminense probably happy with the way they're starting the season. And the last match of the round on was the last match of the round. Yes, I was correct. It is disappearing from my screen. It is here we go. brand new phone. It's already frozen. No, the last match of the round was Atlético Paranaense hosting Avaí. The Hurricanes playing in their home stadium, and they are also in the Copa Libertadores. Also, very being pushed in that competition and really focusing on that competition. But they get the 3 points here. They win 2-1. They get 2 goals from David Terans, whereas Avaí would get one from the penalty spot for Potker. But it is 2-1 to the Hurricanes, and Club Atlético Paranaense take the 3 points. Let's take a look now and look at the table in the Brasileirão, the Serie A. Corinthians lead the league, as we said. They have 14 points from 7 matches. Second place belongs to Palmeiras now. Actually, you got 4 teams with 12 points. This is what I'm talking about in this league. Every week, it is difficult. Every week, there is a new challenger. This week, 4 teams sitting on 12 points in second place. Palmeiras, São Paulo, Atlético Mineiro, and Botafogo, all with 12 points. Santos are 6th with 11. Fluminense, I just talked about them. They're happy with that result. They're in 7th, but with 11. They're simply 3 points back from the leader. Curitiba right now in 8th with 10. Also with 10, you have América Mineiro, Avaí, and Internacional. And then the group of teams with 11, these are 3 of the stronger teams, typically speaking. It's Atlético Paranaense, Red Bull Bragantino, and Flamengo, all with 9 points through 7 rounds. Goiás and Cuiabá have 8 and 15th and 16th. And then in the drop zone, as we speak, Atlético Goianense with 6 points, Juventude with 6 points, Ceará with 5, and Fortaleza. 6 matches played, only 1 point right now for Fortaleza. One of last year's surprise sensations. This year, struggling. This year, really, really struggling. And if they don't turn it around soon, they could be in some really serious trouble. The top goal scorers right now, Jonathan Caleri of São Paulo has 7 goals. He leads the way. Edison of Botafogo has 5. And then Hulk, Leo Gamalho, and Elvas all have 4. All right, let's switch gears. That is Brasileirão. Let me actually, before we do that, let's check something here. In regard to the Brasileirão, or I should say in regard to Brazilian football, I'm going to do a quick check here on what's coming up in the Copa do Brasil. All right, and then we're gonna run down some U.S. Open Cup scores before I get into Liga MX. But here we go. Pulling up right now any information on the Copa do Brasil. Here we are. Okay, 1 match still left to play in the current round of the Copa do Brasil. Excuse me. Last Sunday, Brasiliense were beaten 1-0 at home by visiting Atlético Mineiro. And then Tuesday, May the 31st, next Tuesday, is the final match, the final second leg of this round. It is Red Bull Bragantino hosting Goiás. Bragantino right now have a 2-1 lead on aggregate. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, very, very quick, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little U.S. Open Cup, and then we're going to talk about the Liga MX playoffs here on the Parking the Bus podcast. I'm the Mr. Mike Agustino. And welcome back to the Parking the Bus podcast. I'm the Mr. Mike Agustino here with you again. All right, real quick, round of 16 action in the U.S. Open Cup, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, okay? All 8 matches played yesterday. So here are your results. The winners all advance to the quarterfinals. It's single elimination, single match knockout for these teams. Okay, and again, there's still some lower league teams hanging on in there, and that's always good. That's really the magic of this competition, just like any other domestic cup, is absolutely the domestic teams, the lower league teams that can stay in the competition as long as possible, maybe even get to the latter stages and really be able to really, make a difference in the competition and really make a name for themselves and be one of the teams that can find their way into, the final even, and really give their supporters something to get excited about. Okay, so I'll pull it up here, and we're going to start with Louisville City FC hosting Nashville SC, and Nashville, the MLS side, do come away with the win, 2-1 on the road. Goals from Loba and Suni Mukhtar, while Brian Ownby of Louisville got the goal for Louisville City. That will be the end for the USL side, but Nashville SC will advance. Orlando City versus Inter Miami, a Florida derby, um, a Florida Clasico, if you will, and it's a match just like any other rivalry match. It goes down to the wire. It goes down to the end, and this one would go to penalties. First, we get goals from, and both goals would come in extra time, of course. So we would finish 0-0 in 90 minutes, and then in extra time, Jean Mota of Inter Miami would score in the 94th, thinking he had gotten Inter Miami to the next round. But then, not much later, 3 minutes later, Facundo Torres of Orlando City pulls level, and that takes us to penalties. And let's see if they. And it looks like, here we go. I'll go to the ticker here and give you the penalty rundown. So, stepping up first was Leonardo Campagna for Orlando City. He converts. Next, it was Leonardo Campagna of Inter Miami scores. Excuse me there. I misread that. Converts a penalty with a left-footed shot to the high center of the goal. Then, Orlando City's Erkan Kara, he steps up. He converts with a right-footed shot in the bottom corner. Then Bryce Duke is saved. He fails to capitalize on that opportunity. Right-footed shot saved in the bottom left corner. Robin Janssen would score for Orlando City. Then DeAndre Yedlin, the U.S. international, would miss. His right-footed shot would be too high. It would go over, and it would be the beginning of the end, if you will, because Andreas Pereira, the Brazilian, or Pereira, excuse me, he's not Brazilian. Andreas Pereira is Colombian. He would score his penalty, making it 3-1 to Orlando City. Ariel Lassiter next up for Inter Miami. He converts. It's 3-2. But then Mauricio Pereira, he's Brazilian. He scores for Orlando City. Orlando City advanced to the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup. NYCFC, after extra time, 1-0 winners over New England Revolution, and Bruce Arena blows another cup competition once again. What people see in this manager is beyond me, okay? But, again, I know he has a good body of work, but he's so out of touch with the current game. He can do it in league play. He can do it when you give him the type of players New England have given him, but in key big matches where you must win, he again doesn't get the job done or doesn't take it seriously enough, which is what I think happened in CONCACAF Champions League and why New England Revolution were eliminated in the quarterfinals after having a 3-goal lead after the first leg, going down to Mexico, losing 3-0 to Pumas, and then losing on penalties. Santiago Rodriguez would have the goal for New York City FC. Minnesota United at home facing Union Omaha. The side from Omaha wins. The USL side comes out. I think they're a USL League One team, if I'm not mistaken. They come out with a 2-1 win at is it Audi Park at the stadium there in Minnesota at the Allianz Field, excuse me, wrong sponsor. Yeah, they're going to advance. Congratulations to Union Omaha. New York Red Bulls. They win 3-1 over Charlotte FC. They advance, and they will face New York City FC in the next round. So we'll have a Hudson River Derby in the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup. Sporting KC wins 2-1 over Houston Dynamo. LA Galaxy win the U.S. Open Cup version of El Tráfico 3-1 over LAFC. And Sacramento Republic, another USL side, eliminates San Jose Quakes. They advance to the next round as well. Okay, let's get to Mexican football, the Clausura playoffs. All right, we're going to go back to the second legs. I talked about it. Last weekend when I was talking Liga MX, and we'll start with Tigres and Atlas. Atlas winning the first leg of the semifinals, 3-0. I talked all about that last week. Fast forward to last Saturday night, and what was one of my favorite matches, and why I love this league. Okay, and even though I'm not a big fan of playoffs, they make it interesting in Mexico. I still don't agree that this is the way to crown a champion, but this is the way they do it, and the football that they give us is entertaining. Tigres down 3-0 on aggregate at home at the Volcan, taking on Atlas. Atlas, okay, let's look at their lineup for this one. Okay, Atlas comes out in a 5-3-2. Yeah, 5-3-2 for Diego Coca. Vargas is in goal. The wingbacks, Abeja and Chala. The three center backs, Santa Maria, Nervo, and Aguilera. Aldo Rocha is the deep lying center midfielder. Reyes to his left, Reyes to his right, Zalvidar to his left. Up front, you have Julian Quiñones, the Colombian, partnering with the Argentine Julio Cesar Fuch, and Atlas, the defending champion, so close to the final, 90 minutes from the final. All they got to do is hang on to this 3-goal lead that they have, and they even add to it first. Quiñones gets on the board first, believe it or not, and it's 4-0 on aggregate. Keep that in mind. Now, Quiñones does that in the 45th minute, just before halftime. I guess the goal right before halftime here is a little bit different than what happened with Corinthians, as it woke Tigres right up. But Tigres would take the pitch with this team. 4-4-2 for Miguel Herrera. Nahuel Guzman, the longtime goalkeeper, in goal. Although he would see his way off the pitch, he would not finish this one. Aquino is the right back. Angulo is the left back. Linchovsky and Castro, the center back pairing. Across the midfield, down the right, you have Luis Quiñones. Down the left, you have Jefferson Soteldo, the Venezuelan. The double pivot in midfield is Guido Pizarro, the Argentine, with the Brazilian Rafael Carioca. And they're playing behind the attackers. The forwards, Carlos Gonzalez, the Paraguayan international, and the best player in this league, maybe the best player ever in this league. Maybe I'm stretching it, but I mean, he's been so dominant since he arrived in this league. Former France international, André Pierre Gignac. Gignac, my man. This guy just keeps going. This guy just is a joy to watch. Now, I just said Quiñones had put Atlas ahead just before halftime. I can just see the halftime talk as Herrera says, okay, Gignac, you do the rest. A little bit of a fortuitous penalty decision here in the 54th minute. The referee does point to the spot. It's only after a VAR review, and Gignac steps up and does not hesitate. Beats he beats Vargas, and it is 1-1. Now it's 4-1 on aggregate. 4-1, okay? Again, if you're Atlas, you have to be fairly comfortable with this 4-1. But Gignac decides he's gonna. I mean, Tigres come out flying now. Tigres are believing. Once it's 1-1, they believe in themselves. The crowd is behind them. It's a phenomenal crowd in El Volcan, okay, in the Universitario in Monterrey, and it's just, it's a sea of that yellowy orange color they wear. It's just a great sea. They're just throwing bodies forward. They're waving them on, and it's Gignac again in the 59th. 5 minutes later, the Frenchman makes it 2-1. Now it's 4-2 on aggregate. And there's still 30 minutes to go. And if you're an Atlas fan, you can kind of see this coming. You say, no way. No way. Well, in the 74th minute, a quarter of an hour later, essentially, once again, the referee, and I don't have the referee's name for this one. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't, like I said, from this app, but I don't have his name. But, oh, yes, I do. It's Cesar Arturo Ramos Palazuelos. He points to the spot again. Tigres get their second penalty kick, and they convert it. It's Gignac again. He converts it 3-1. Now we got 4-3 on aggregate, okay? 4-3 on aggregate. But in the meantime, there was a substitution here that needs to be mentioned because of an injury to Tigres, okay? And Castro gets injured, okay? And Castro is substituted. This ends up being a talking point, which it really shouldn't, but he ends up getting substituted by Florian Thauvin, okay? And Thauvin comes on. And let's talk about Thauvin for a second. He's an attacker. Thauvin is also French, just like André Pierre Gignac. Here's the problem with this substitution. The injured Mexican player is substituted off. Liga MX and FMF have rules about a minimum number of Mexican players on the pitch. Miguel Herrera has a moment where he forgets this, and any manager can forget this. These rules are ridiculous, to be honest with you. If you want to limit the number of foreigners to a game day roster, that's one thing. If you want coaches to keep track of the nationalities that are on the pitch, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. In my opinion, needless. But those are the rules in Mexico. So Miguel Herrera makes that substitution. And the worst thing is, if this result had come out a little differently, Liga MX would have been humiliated because Tigres would have had to forfeit the match because they exceeded the minimum. They exceeded the maximum number of foreign players on the pitch, or I should say, they fell below the minimum number of Mexican players, homegrown, or I think it works if homegrown. They don't necessarily need to be Mexican citizens, but they need to be Mexican homegrown players. Or they can be Mexican citizens if they're raised abroad or whatever. But anyway, long story short, Tigres would have been disqualified. They would have had to forfeit this match had they not been eliminated. But I don't really call that a fracaso the way the guys on ESPN do, or the way that the 2DNA crowd does. For me, this was just, a very simple oversight. And to make matters worse, and none of us are knowing this at the time. I don't even think it was mentioned on the broadcast on 2DNA or on Univision. But Lichnowsky scores in the 81st minute to make it 4-1, 4-4 on aggregate. Now, remember the rules in Mexico. When you're in the quarterfinals and semifinals, when you're tied on aggregate, the team higher in the table that finishes the regular season with a higher point total wins the tiebreaker for their regular season. I love that rule personally. If you're going to have playoffs, I think that's the rule you use because that makes the regular season mean something. Take note, Major League Soccer. We get 10 minutes of stoppage. We actually get 7, but it ends up bleeding overwards because afterwards and after a VAR review, it turns out we get a penalty. So, I mean, just a crazy, crazy, crazy match. And we get that in the 90th plus 10, like I said, okay? 90th plus 10. Aldo Rocha steps up after Anderson Santamaria is shown a yellow card. But that actually before that, Nahuel Guzman sees a yellow card. Andre Pierre Gignac also sees a yellow card. Aldo Rocha steps up. Aldo Rocha, of course, steps up and he converts. Okay, long story short, he converts. Atlas take the lead. It's now 5-4 on aggregate, 4-2 on the night. 90th plus 10. Guzman loses his mind. Nahuel Guzman loses his mind. The Argentinian shown his second yellow for dissent, sent to the showers. And that's all she wrote. The defending champions, Atlas, survive after squandering a 4-goal aggregate lead. They rescue it late, and they are in the final versus Pachuca, which will kick off at 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. That is in about 3 hours. That is, at the time of recording, that's in a couple hours. At the time you watch this, that'll be about an hour. I would say that's about an hour and 10 minutes from now from when you watch this. The other quarterfinal, quickly. Okay, I was excited for this, and I was sorely disappointed. It's Pachuca taking on America. You guys know I have a soft spot in my heart for America. And America should have taken the lead in this one. Let's quickly look at the lineup here. America would go with and their manager, Fernando Ortiz, who, from what I understand, is about to be made from interim to permanent. Memo Ochoa is the goalkeeper. You've got Jorge Sanchez across the back. You got Jorge Sanchez. You've got Bruno Valdez. You've got Sebastian Cáceres. And you have Luis Fuentes in the back. The three in midfield. Richard Sanchez is the center midfielder, the Paraguayan. To his right, he has the Spaniard Alvaro Fidalgo. And to his left, he has the Mexican Alex Zandejas. And they're playing behind the number 10, the true number 10 playmaker, the Chilean Diego Valdez. And Diego Valdez, unfortunately, is going to be on the wrong side of the story in this match. And then in attack or in the forward position, you have the Colombian Roger Martinez, and you have Federico Viñas, the Uruguayan. So a large number of foreign players also on the America roster, always a staple of their roster. But again, Valdez had the best chance of the match to score. Furthermore, we had a yellow card being shown early here, and this is another failure of both the referee on the pitch and the VAR. Okay, the VAR also failed. Nicolas Ibanez should have been sent off for his foul on Diego Valdez. Okay, Valdez is shielding the ball in the play, and Ibanez comes from behind, studs up right into his calf. I don't want to hear what he meant to do. I want to hear what happened. And what happened was he spiked him in the calf. The referee originally shows a yellow, and I was saying to myself, there's no way he's going to go to VAR, and that's red. I can't explain to you how VAR looks at this and does not rescind the yellow card and directly issue the red. This is literally violent conduct. This is the exact type of referee mistake VAR was introduced to fix, and it did not. And as a result, Pachuca go on playing with 11. Then Valdez misses a sitter. He has the best chance of the game. He misses it. And then, this is all still early, and in the 13th minute, Ibarra I didn't even give you Pachuca's starting lineup. Excuse me. Pachuca, Ustari in goal, Alvarez, Cabral, Tapias, and Aceves in the back, Sanchez and Chavez as the double pivots, then Guzman, Hurtado, and Ibanez in the attacking midfield behind the striker Renato Ibarra. Romario Ibarra, excuse me, the Ecuadorian. Ibarra scores in the 13th minute, makes it 1-0. And now America need to, because America finished fourth in the table. Pachuca finished first. Long story short, they made a bit of an effort, but at the end, it was not to be. And Pachuca would double their lead in the 44th minute. It would be Eric Sanchez, the Mexican international, who would find the back of the net for the league leaders. And now Pachuca are sailing. America need 3 on the road at the Estadio Hidalgo. It's not going to happen. And just to rub more salt in the wounds in the 66th minute, it is Romario Ibarra, once again, the Ecuadorian, scoring, making it 3-0 and making it 4-1 on aggregate. That is going to wrap it up. A disappointing finish to the season for America. However, they did great in round 9. America were in last place. Okay, fast forward to round 17, they were in 4th place to get into this Liguilla. And they did well to get to where they are. And perhaps, that needs to be remembered. And it's not always how you finish. The journey is important. And hopefully for America, this is the right man, the right manager for them. A lot of the guys I listen to, a lot of the pundits that I listen to don't think this is the right man for America. And in the end, they go home here, but they'll need to build on it when they come back for the Apertura in July. America will need to build on it because this isn't good enough for Club America. They are a massive club, and they need to be there. They need to be in finals and winning trophies. So they're going to fall short here. So the final, which kicks off at 10 p.m. Eastern time, about an hour, a little over an hour from now when you're watching this, it will be, the first leg will be at Atlas. Atlas will play against Pachuca. At the time of recording, I do not have lineups for you, but I can tell you that according to the 3,800 fans on FOTMob that voted, they're picking Atlas to win this first leg. If you checked out Better Than Vegas today and you saw my blog post, you'll see I also took Atlas on the money line tonight to win this first leg. My DVR is set. I'll watch it tomorrow. We'll see how it plays out. But that is it. Okay, that is it. We'll see how it plays out. Of course, it's all going to come down to the second leg on Sunday. But for now, for tonight, thank you for joining me both for this episode and for the earlier one. I appreciate all of the love, all of the support of all the listeners and viewers out there. And I'll be back soon. If not Friday, I'll be back Saturday some point. And we got a lot more to talk about. And yeah, look forward to it. This is the Mr. Mike Agustinu signing off for the Parking the Bus podcast here on the PTB Media Network. Don't forget at PTB_media on Twitter to watch the live stream. And you can catch it afterwards at www.parkingthebusmedia.com and on the PTB Media Network's YouTube page. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next time here on the Parking the Bus podcast.